Okay, well guys, welcome back. It's Mike Newton down here at Lytham Golf Academy. Got a little test for you today, and it's the fairway wood area. And we're going to look at a difference of maybe between a standard 3-wood loft, which tends to be around that 15-degree mark, and putting it up to a what we'll call maybe a weak or a high launching 3-wood, or maybe more a little bit like a 4-wood really, which is lofted at 16.5 degrees. So many golfers I will see through coaching sessions, through fitting sessions, maybe struggle to hit that 3-wood from the ground, maybe a lack of speed, not maybe consistent enough on strike. So maybe that 16.5 degree option, a little bit more loft, might be a little bit more easy for those guys to maybe sort of use. So we're going to test that today. We're going to see what difference of launch, how it sort of feels to me as a reaction and confidence. Obviously got GCQuad on the ground as always to measure some data, and we'll see how these two fairway woods perform. Okay, so for this particular test, I've got the Titleist TS3 fairway wood. As I say, I've got it in 15 degree and a 16.5, both TS3, so we're going to keep the heads the same. Got the same shaft in both. And just really going to sort of look at really how the ball sort of launches, and maybe if there's any real distance of or change of sort of distance. Now, there's obviously a few influences that can affect how the ball launches. Obviously, the player's angle of attack as they come into that golf ball, maybe a little bit of swing direction, and also strike location. Now, obviously, we're hitting off a perfectly flat line. Now, obviously, when you get on the golf course, you're going to get some different lies, some poorer lies than maybe what you would like to sort of see, and maybe sometimes that little bit more loft with that 16.5 degree might just start to help that particular golfer out. So I'm going to start off with a 15 degree head first, hit a batch of shots, and then we'll move into that 16.5. Okay, so that's a little bit matty there, but pretty straight. So again, I think it comes to a lot of confidence, doesn't it, for golfers when they sit this club down by the golf ball, whether they can feel like they can actually get this airborne. And as I say, from my experience, the golfers tend to struggle a little bit more, maybe with that 3-wood off the ground. So when you sit a club down, some 3-woods look like they've got more loft than others. Sometimes it's just the shaping of the head that gives you that, or even the colouring that just gives you that feeling that there's a little bit more loft, which tends to add to a little bit of confidence. So this particular one, TS3, looks fine to me. I mean, I don't play a 3-wood myself in the bag, so I'm not always used to a 3-wood. See, that's a real necky one. That's not a good strike. Now, luckily for me, I've got the speed in my club head to get away with this, so the bad hits may sort of still get up and away. I'm going to lose a bit of distance there, but it's still up and away and sort of pretty much down there. That's got out there around 240 run out, so not as long as I should or tend to hit my 3-wood, but it won't do too badly. But again, if you haven't got the speed and you hit that strike, again, that's where you'll suffer a little bit more. Yeah, again, that's just a little bit low in the face. I'm just making a couple little swing changes at the moment, actually, so still feeling a little bit alien to me. So I'm just maybe struggling to get my strike maybe as consistent as I like, but again, it's pretty accurate there, which is good. It's a better strike. That's a better flight, a bit higher there. Again, strikes change, that lovely connection. Okay, just going to hit one more shot. Again, really good strike. Probably the best of the lot there. Okay, so I've got no issues of flighting that person. As I say, I'm fortunate enough to have a bit of speed there, so if I get a decent connection with some speed, it's going to get the ball in the air quite nicely. Okay, I'm going to switch it over and put the 16.5 degree head on the same shaft. Okay, so 16.5 degree head on the same shaft. So this is effectively like a 4-wood sort of loft now, but a lot of companies will call them maybe 3HL, so high launch 3-woods. Probably just sounds a little bit better, doesn't it? Still feel like you're getting a 3-wood, but it's just a little bit more easier to launch. And straight away there, visually, obviously the shape of the head is exactly the same, with the same being the same TS3, but the loft just looks a lot more. So straight away that gives me much more confidence that I'm going to get that ball in the air. And I think that's the biggest factor for a lot of maybe amateur golfers, is just having that confidence that they can see some of that club face with a bit of loft that can get that ball in the air. Now, if you, as I mentioned before, if you've got that golfer who maybe has an attack that's very sort of down onto the golf ball, gets a little bit steep, so maybe the players that would tend to swing a little bit more outswing, the slicers, big faders of the world, would tend to get a little bit sort of down onto it. Now, when you present the club more down, we've got a tendency to deliver less loft, but also as you strike the ball, that's going to pull the launch of that golf ball down. So maybe that 15 degree just starts turning to maybe 14 or even 13 degrees of loft at impact, and just starting to really pull that launch down. So makes it difficult again when they haven't got the speed to actually get that ball flighted. So let's hit some shots with this 16 and a half. It does look much more loft than that, even though it's just 1.5 degrees. I can see a big difference in the head. Okay, solid strike there. Just pull that up the left-hand side, but a good strike, flighted really nicely. That got out at 261 as a total, so not a good distance there, considering this is, again, just moving to a slight more forward loft. It's a good strike, again, a bit more neutral. That's much higher. Yeah, that's a higher ball flight. Won't be quite as long as that first one, I want to guess there. Yeah, 253, so dropped off a little bit more. Also, we know that little pull shot to the left will always pick up a few more yards when you get that particular shape. Great shot, lovely. Great strike, definitely a higher ball flight there. So that 1.5 degree there, making a difference of that that flight. Just visually to me looks like it's just staying in that air a little bit longer, just launching a fraction higher, a little bit longer in that air. But again, I'm thinking, again, this is perfect lies into if we get into that real world on the golf course and we've got maybe that sort of slight downhill lie, or that ball's just sort of sat down in a slight depression, definitely going to make it a little bit tougher to get that ball up and out. So that little bit more loft may just sort of help that. That's a bad strike, that's a heely one, but that has just flown up a lot quicker. So bad strike, see that's moved off to the right there. That was more me with the strike pattern there, but again, I know luckily I've got the speed to cope with that, but you know, if again that golfer hasn't got the speed with that little bit more loft, that will definitely help to just launch that ball a touch higher, or just to really get it up and away, basically try and get somewhere down that fairway. Yeah, good. Definitely a slightly higher ball flight there. Is that a line ball to finish on? Nearly, 246. Okay, so there's some shots hit with that 16 and a half. Let's look at some numbers and see what differences there are. I'm seeing a little visual difference there. A little bit of influence to me, definitely feels more confident as I put it down by the golf ball that I'm going to get it up. And I'm guessing if again I get in that slightly iffy lie, I'd feel more confident with this than the traditional 3 would. But also interested to see what it's done to the actual distance of the ball as well. Okay, so looking at some numbers here, we've got the 15 degree up on the top, 16 and a half on the bottom, and the row oranges underneath each one. So we've got ball speed just 147.9 with a 3 wood and 149 with a 4 wood, so a little bit more ball speed with a 4 wood. I'm going to take that first shot I hit out because it was a pretty rotten shot, so I'm just going to disable that number from the column here just to try and get these strikes as close as I sort of can, really. So when I do that, you can see ball speed just a fraction quicker there with the 3 wood, which you sort of expect slightly lower, straighter face. Launching at 8.5, obviously that's a couple there were a little bit low. Again, there weren't some of the slight miss hits, but I want to keep the slight ones in. The first one was a horrendous miss hit for me. So definitely launched a little bit lower than the 4 wood. The 4 wood a little bit more sort of consistent on that launch angle as it came out. Spin number, you can see obviously the 4 wood just getting a little bit more spin at 3.9 against the 3.5, which I got with the 3 wood. So that changes the peak height, so 33 yards to 26, big difference of that peak height. there, but again a little bit more consistent with the forward on that P-cart. Again, even though when I slightly mishit it, it still sort of got up and out of that window. And distance wise, you see carrier's actually the same at 233, so probably argument there, a couple of iffy ones with the 3-wood. Forward I've struck a bit better on those batch of shots, so that's probably equaling itself out. So possibly exchanging exact strike for strike, me personally, I'll get a little bit more distance out of that 3-wood. But you've got to think, again, the golfer who hasn't got the speed, then you'll tend to find is the higher lofted fairway wood will go further than the less lofted, which doesn't sort of make sense, but it's the fact that that golfer with less speed can just get that ball actually launched in the air. Well, as soon as it's launched in the air, it stays in the air, they get a better carry distance there. Than a lower lofted fairway, which again doesn't sort of make sense, but it's really quite an interesting one. Again, that's the whole way of just testing that. You can't do that without testing it. You look at it on paper, 15 degree fairway against 16.5. Well, the 3-wood's got to, the 15 degrees got to go further, hasn't it? But not necessarily. It depends on that particular golfer. So you always get yourself sort of tested. Okay guys, so there we go, there's 3-wood against maybe like a 4-wood. So as I just mentioned there, definitely go and get fit and try this out. You know, if you're struggling with that 3-wood, just don't keep going through that pain of just not launching it, then it stays in the bag, you don't use it, and possibly you've got a bit of a gap there. Explore some of these higher lofted clubs, even maybe in a 5-wood there, possibly even 7-wood some golfers go into. Again, it depends on your delivery, your angle of attack, and what loft you present at impact. This is the key here. What it's got statically sounds great, you know, 3-wood, 5-wood, you know, 4-wood, but what you then deliver through impact in your delivery can be obviously quite different, can't it? So this is where you've got to sort of measure it, put them against each other and see which you get more confidence with in one aspect of launching that golf ball from various different lies, but also then maybe a little bit interested to see what sort of distance you get from it, and also maybe dispersion and accuracy. Okay, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Have you got 3-wood in the bag? Do you struggle with your 3-wood? Or maybe have you switched it into a 4-wood, possibly even 5? I'd love to know your thoughts as always, what you're carrying in that fairway wood area. Get my words out. So do comment down below. If you enjoyed the videos and you haven't subscribed, I'd love you to do so. Just smash that subscribe button, hit the bell icon to get notifications of any future videos. Follow my social media platforms, both Instagram and Twitter, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.